How's it going, guys? It's your boy Salty Uchi here, Red Hair Kaneki, 2/3 of the Golden Triangle, Anime Late Night Podcast, yeah. Shouts out to Senju. And we're in the home stretch. Last 3 episodes of Dragon Ball Super. We're here to do Dragon Ball Super episode 129. Oh shit, sorry, my bad, 130, right?
129.
Yeah, my bad, I was right. 129. Anime review. Yeah, what'd you think, sir?
To be honest, the episode was alright.
Oh, and Kaneki is sick after he got his waifu cut him out of that cocoon thing. Apparently, you're still not well yet. I don't know where I was going with that joke. Anyway.
Wow. To be honest, the episode was alright. Like, the fight was cool and all, but I don't know.
Goku show.
Well, the premise of it was like, overall, I guess it's just a fucking brawl episode, to be honest.
Yeah.
I did, however, really like the galaxy energy that Goku did. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And catching Jiren energy ball thing, just like breaking it.
Yep.
But the transformation is like,
yeah. I'm not as enthusiastic about it.
I just don't like the gray hair thing. So that's how I feel about that.
Alright. So, as the episode starts, it's as usual, Goku's in Ultra Instinct. And here in Jiren start their attack off. And for me, the analysis of the people who were observing the fight was probably the most important thing. Being that even though Goku was starting to Goku was on the offensive, his attacks weren't doing really anything. As Whisk had pointed out, he's still trying to think about what he does before he does it, instead of just letting it happen naturally. And it's yet again still hurting him. Also, the general fact that Whisk was like, this is it. If he doesn't make this work this time around, when his flame goes out, it goes out for good. That doesn't necessarily mean he was going to die. It just meant that it was it. He wasn't coming back. Because he said the further and further you go, you dwell into the realm of God, the more of a toll it takes on you. So, that was kind of Goku's last shot, which you already knew what that was going to turn into. So that is what it is. Anyway, as the fight between Jiren and Goku go on, Belmont is, I don't know what was Belmont's problem, dog. Like, he was extra salty in this episode. Like, he was like all in his feelings. And I understand, I'm going to approach it now. I understand as a Vegeta fan how some other Vegeta fans would feel like Toei made him bitch up to sit there and come to Goku's defense. I don't look at it that way. Not because he came to Goku's defense. I mean, he was right in what he said. But if you have to look at it in the bigger picture, where he was talking about all Saiyans, not just Goku. And because he did name everybody, and how they all have, in the small time or in the short duration of this tournament, they've all continued to push their limits in Ascent, which even Belmont couldn't deny. And I hate to have to say this, but I think I have to say it, even though I hate it, is the fact that with Vegeta saying that, hey, can you really deny all that? And they look up at Goku and you see that little flare before the flames came up around him. It's essentially was like the visual representation that he's the best of us. I hate to say that, but whatever. Just throwing that out there. So I don't want to have any fucking bigger YouTubers sitting there saying, oh yeah, all these Vegeta haters out here can't look at the bigger picture. What the fuck you talking about, dog? Anyway. As it pertains to Toppo in particular, Toppo peeped game early. He peeped game super early, because once Goku started to kind of get a grip, where like literally the heat that was radiating off of him, like people around were starting to get the feeling of it. And Whisk was like, and he's really observing Goku. His eyes are closed. He's kind of got like the feng shui shit going, and so on and so forth. That's when we already kind of knew what that was going to turn into. Now, with that being said, let me address the second thing, the second kind of like cat in the room, I guess, or elephant really, but whatever, I'm going to say cat, is the fact that when Jiren ended up putting when Goku was on that boulder, and he was essentially in defensive mode, while Jiren was sitting there raining those attacks down on him, a lot of people said that was kind of like pure luck. I No, in my opinion, I should say, that wasn't the case. Jiren purposely put him there. And for two good reasons. Either A, Goku takes the hit, or B, he ends up just falling off of the little boulder, the boulder that he was under, ends up just collapsing from under him. So either way, it's like a lose-lose there. So with that being said, if anything, that was just good strategy, and that was just being mindful of your surroundings. How Goku handled it, though, was a bit of a surprise, to be honest, because at first, it looks like Goku was kind of using his aura just to kind of keep the attacks off him, which at first was what was going on, until you saw the flicker with his arms or whatnot, and you saw the off, and you started to see that. That's when Toppo really started to peep game, because Toppo saw it, and which is funny too, because Toppo and Vegeta actually have something in common now, but we'll talk about that in discussion and speculations.
They're both knockout?
Wow. Give it those cheap shots. So Toppo peep game. Once Goku started to really get a handle on the form and whatnot, that's when you started to see the more you saw him actually go into more of a counterattack instead of offensive, which I think is something that people keep overlooking. Like, oh, Goku finally went on the offensive. No, I think it was really more of counterpunching, to be honest. There's some other people that agree with me on that, but just look at it that way. It was him more counterpunching, and that's when he actually got that defining hit on Jiren, which caused Jiren to be like, all right, playtime's over, and then he goes into that large orb. But before that, let me skip back. I don't like how they reused a lot of the scenes.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff was recycled, and I feel a certain type of way about it, being that how far we've come since when they originally used it. And even in the intro, a lot of the scenes that you saw from the intro were reused. Yeah. So I feel that was kind of lazy.
And look, like, we're not trying to like fucking make it all about animation, but come on.
Yeah, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Like, that is literally a part where Goku and Jiren was falling, and Jiren looked like a fucking clay fucking goddamn it. It looked like a fucking 5-year-old dog, Jiren.
It reminds me of Super Saiyan God, or of level 3 Super Saiyan versus Beerus all over again. Jesus Christ, we all remember how horrible that was. So there you guys go on that. That's at least how
y'all got like 3 episodes left. Might as well put the goddamn budget into it.
Exactly. If you're gonna, you might as well try to go out with a bang. So the recycling of certain scenes, of certain like certain exchanges, I wasn't a fan of. Another problem that we saw was him trying to do the same thing to Kefla. Him using the same attack on Jiren that he used on Kefla. Why? Like, why? Like, you already know that it was ineffective. Now, granted, I like how he turned that into a defensive type action to shield himself from Jiren's counterattack. That's all well and good. And it's nice to see that the Kamehameha wave still has other utilities. It has other uses. That's all well and good. But why are we still trying to do it that way? That was kind of, I don't know, it was lazy. It was really lazy. Okay, so back to where we were at after Jiren gets hit, and he says he's going to put, it's time for him to really start taking stuff seriously now, because he can't ignore it. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but when Goku had all that heat radiating around him, you saw when it finally expanded, it looked like a galaxy that was literally around Goku, or almost like, like the shape of a galaxy. Yeah. Which the visuals of it was really cool. Was super dope. To be honest with you, I might use that as my screensaver. I just need to put some cake on there. But yeah, super dope. Super dope. And like I said, how everybody were able to interpret like the energy that was coming off it was still pretty cool in itself. Another thing is how Whisk said that he could actually sense like what Goku was feeling. He wasn't sensing fear or desperation or anything of that, or anything of the sort. It was nothing more than just the fight itself. It wasn't even about Jiren. It was about just the fight itself. So he's taking it to the most basic. Goku's finally reached his most basic instinct. No pun intended. So I thought that was kind of cool in its own right. Then him in that all light form was kind of cool after when Jiren tried to attack him, and Goku kind of just disappeared and then just kicked him off. But before that, let's talk about when Jiren was powering up his orb, and like that shit was crazy. Like everybody, like even the Supreme Kai was like, he's gonna kill us all, and Belmont's like, I don't care, like get rid of Goku, and
all of a sudden disappeared.
Yeah, then all of a sudden it was just like he fired it. Like first he condensed it, and then he fired it. So he still had that huge fire aura around him, which gives you a lot of, that gives a lot of credit to Jiren on how much power he has. And then, yeah, it was gone. And then next thing you know, Goku's behind him, all lit up.
And Jiren looking back, like,
yeah, and then the orb was gone. He was just like, flick of the wrist, and it was gone. It was just gone.
And then Jiren's about to punch Goku, all of a sudden, multiple hits.
And then he just landed down in the bottom. And then that was it. Now, I will say, when all of the gods of destruction stood up, I mean, Belmont was already standing up, but when everybody else stood up at that point, that was kind of dope, because in my personal opinion, that each god is acknowledging Goku as one of themselves and whatnot, like a one of us type situation. And that was kind of cool. And one of the things that, for me, kind of solidifies that is the fact that when Beerus looks, basically acts as Whisk, he's like, he's done it, hasn't he? He's really done it. And he's like, yup. Whisk is like, oh, yes, he has. And Goku and Beerus is like, finally, what do you call it? Completed Ultra Instinct, or complete Ultra Instinct, whatever. But like I said, all the gods standing up in acknowledgement, I think, proves a particular point that shouldn't be overstated. I think if that was the ascension to godhood, then you just saw how everybody else essentially acknowledged it. Now, my problem is the fact that, yet again, you give Vegeta a form that doesn't really mean much. It's them trying to give Super Saiyan God Blue more relevance without completely burying the goddamn form. But yet, we give Goku 3 Ultra Instincts, and then he gets completed. All in the span of 40-something minutes. That's the bullshit. But whatever. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yet again, this goes back to the prejudice that goes to Vegeta, as well as other characters, but Vegeta gets it the worst. So I'm kind of like, I understand how you got some of these guys who are like, oh, Vegeta's still up there with him, Vegeta's still up there with him. Do you not see that the margin is just constantly being widened? Kind of like your mother's legs. Anyway. Anything else, sir?
No.
No? Not at all?
That's too much salt for me to go in.
Alright, guys, so previews. We'll talk about that in discussions and speculations. And I think the most important aspect of it was the fact that Jiren, one, his outfit's all torn up, so we're kind of getting to see a much more intense Jiren. And the thought of, hello, is it possible that Jiren himself has Ultra Instinct? So we will talk about that in discussions and speculations. It's your boy Salty Uchiha, Red Hair Kaneki. Thank you very much for listening in as we did Dragon Ball Super episode 129 anime review. Very much appreciated. For Sinju, who is also on hiatus at the moment, we'll holler at y'all later. And expect us to get back into Black Clover after the anime finishes. So, yay. Alright, it's your boy Salty Uchiha, and I'll holler at y'all later.